It's last call for football on FanDuel, with one last round of rewards every day through Super Bowl 60. One last week for one more chance. Visit the FanDuel app all week long for limited time boost every day until football runs out. FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 60.
New customers bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. 21 plus and present in select states. First online real money wager only. $5 deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com.
We heard you. 9 years of Bring Back the Snack Wrap and you've won. But maybe you should have asked for more. Say hello to the Hot Honey Snack Wrap. Now you've really won. Go to McDonald's and get it while you can.
Hey everybody, it's Jay Scott from The Hook Rocks, the Ultimate Rock Community Podcast. Hope everyone is having a great day. My guest today originally appeared on the introduction for the Kodiak New Music Spotlight episode. It is Chris Ricardo. How you doing today, Chris?
Doing all right. A little bit of a late night last night after a gig, but hanging in there.
You had a gig with a cover band in the Chicagoland area, downtown in the city this time, actually. And that really is our topic for today. What the impact cover bands have on a new original rock scene. Now, you and I have a history with each other where I lived with the original rock band that you were in 20 plus years ago when you played lead guitar. You guys had a following here in Chicago that was respectable for a new original rock. And that was really the time back in the mid-90s, mid to late 90s, when there was a changeover going on in the scene from original rock music to the tribute cover band scene.
Yeah.
You know, you guys were one of the few bands that could draw decent pretty well at a lot of clubs and, you know, sell some products, sell some liquor for the bar club owners. But over time, the cover band scene pretty much took over in terms of the slots on a Friday and Saturday night at bars and clubs.
Yeah, for sure.
Now,
it's not all my fault, I swear.
Well, we're going to get into that, like really where the responsibility lies. Because there's a lot of people that will blindly point the finger at the cover band, right? At the guys
we used to do it. We totally used to do it back in the day when we were in the original band.
Right. They want to point the finger at the guys in the band like, oh, you're playing other people's music and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And I get their angst and I get their frustration. But at the end of it, you know, when you examine why it has happened and why it's happening, cover bands wouldn't exist if they didn't bring in money and if they didn't bring in crowds. And unfortunately,
there was no demand, there wouldn't be cover bands. Yeah.
Right. So it's all about supply and demand. And right now, just as we see with new rock music, there's not a high demand for club owners to put new original rock music in their clubs because instead of them getting, you know, 400, 500, 600 plus in a club on a Friday night where they can sell their liquor, they can sell their beer, their wine, their hard liquor, whatever, they're not going to hire an original rock band that only draws maybe 50 people, definitely under 100. Yeah. They're not going to sell anything. You can't keep the lights on. You can't pay your overhead. You can't pay the staff, the bands, if you're not making any money. So
yeah, and they're not going to pay. They're not going to pay an original band. That's another problem that's happening out there now too. The original bands, they're basically getting tour deals everywhere they go.
I know I spoke to a few bands on the New Music Spotlight, and I don't know how often this happens in Chicago, but in the New York area, on the East Coast, there's a lot of pay-to-play situations.
Yeah.
Where, you know, if a big act is coming to town and the promoter's responsible for filling the opening spot, you have to pay like $2,000 to play for that headliner.
Yeah, I saw one of my a local band that went big. They were playing at the Riv, opening up for somebody, and that's actually what they did to get that spot. But they were on tour with them. It's great exposure and to sell merch, but yeah, it kind of sucks that they have to do that.
That really puts new rock music in a hole. It puts them behind because, you know, they have to put all their resources together just to play one gig for a headliner to get that exposure. They don't know how they're going to go over. They don't know how much, you know, they got to have a lot of merchandise.
Work out.
Right. They got to have merchandise to sell. So you've got to pay for the shirts. You got to pay for the bumper stickers and the tchotchkes and all that stuff. And to put out a sleeve with a CD in it, you've got to pay for all that. So now I don't know how much that'll cost. Maybe
lodging, you know.
Yeah. So it all goes back to infrastructure. And I've brought this up before on previous episodes, is the lack of infrastructure with rock music, the lack of outlets, whether it's regular rock radio, whether it's satellite radio, playing new rock music. I know you can find it on some satellite radio stations, but the presence of it is
you gotta look.
You gotta look. You gotta put work in, and people want their.
Well, that means effort. People have to put effort into it, and nobody's doing that. Well, you know, very few are doing that. Right. I guess I should say
the majority of people want it spoon fed to them.
Yeah,
that goes into the cover band scene, right? People are not going to go take a chance on a Friday and Saturday night to go see a local original rock band play all songs that they're not familiar with. Maybe they'll have a couple covers in there or whatever.
Yeah.
They're going to go see the band that's going to play music that they are familiar with. You know, whether it's a tribute band that, you know, only plays all Kiss stuff, or a Led Zeppelin band that only plays Led Zeppelin stuff, or a cover band that basically plays standards, you know, yesterday's standards and today's standards, basically like a live jukebox, right?
Yes,
so
I do all of those things.
but you know, that goes into how people digest music today, right? You know, you mentioned, and I've said before, you have to put work in to discover rock music. You've got to have, my son was on the last episode, and he said, you know, he's on Spotify, and he loves the familiar button, you know, familiar artist to the one you're listening to, because that's how he discovers new music. You know, YouTube has...
Yeah, I dig that too. That can really surprise you sometimes. It's like, that's cool. I'm going to save that one and check those guys out later, you know?
Correct. And then you have, you know, on YouTube where, you know, they have the recommended, you know, like, you know, if you like, you know, listen to this, you know, they have that on the right side of the screen. They have all the songs that might be familiar based on your algorithm or your search history and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I mean, you really have to spend time finding new rock music. A lot of people don't have the time, let's be fair. But also, a lot of people just don't want to. They you know, you said something very poignant earlier this year. We were heading to a show in Rockford. I think it was Blackberry Smoke.
I love when people tell me that stuff, because I never think I do say anything that means anything.
It was a very good analogy, and a very good example of what's really happening. You know, we were listening to new music. I had brought some new music. We were playing it in the car, and I just said, I just don't understand why people don't listen to this stuff. And you said, you know, music is like their friends, where as they get older, their circle of friends becomes smaller. You know, when you're younger, you got a lot of friends. You're making a lot of new friends, kind of like music. You know, like you've got your favorites that you listen to, and then you're getting turned on to new music, and that's turning on to other stuff. So you're always listening. And as you get older, your circle of friends becomes smaller, right? The people that you interact with consistently become smaller. And it's the same thing with music. You realize what you like and who you like. You kind of get comfortable and you kind of stay in your lane. You know, this is what I like and whatnot, and I don't like any of the new music. I mean, we think about our parents when they were our age raising us, and they would talk about their bands and stuff like that. And we'd be like, oh, but this band is really good. And they didn't have the ability to connect with it. I don't know why that happens, but I think it's just human nature.
Yeah, I think you're right. People get comfortable and complacent.
So when that comes to, the cover band scene and going to go see a cover band, first of all, if you're going out with your buddies on a Friday and Saturday night, or you're having a girls' night out on a Friday and Saturday night, you want to put the least amount of thought into where you're going to go, right?
Yeah, that's part of it.
So, when you go and you see a club and you go on their website and you start searching where you're going to go on that Saturday night or Friday night, and you go to this club and they say, oh, okay, they've got, an 80s cover band, and then, and this club over here has an alternative cover band, and blah, blah, blah. Basically, the choices are kind of limited. So you want to say, okay, well, let's go see an 80s cover band, or let's go see an alternative cover band. And then this group of people
they don't want to take a risk.
They don't want to take a risk. Right.
And they want to go out and have a good time and make sure they have a good time. No questioning about it,
Right. So they go and they're going to spend money on liquor, and there's going to be more people there. And let's also face it too, right? If there's a girls' night out, or if there's a cover band act that plays 80s covers or standard covers, and it draws a lot of women, where the crowd is mostly women, guys will go to see that because they know there's going to be girls there. There's going to be women there. That's nothing
the old formula.
That's not controversial. That's just the way life works, right? I mean, if you're with three of your guy friends and you're like, where do we want to go? And they say, well, this band so and so is playing at so and so. Man, it's always, all their crowds are always filled with women. They're gonna go there. That's just the way it works, folks. I mean, I'm not saying anything controversial, so please don't say I said something bad. But so they go and this crowd attracts a crowd, where there's 300, 400, 500 plus people. The club owners are moving product, and that's the other essence of why cover bands are so prevalent in a lot of scenes across the country, is because they do bring in people, and club owners need to sell booze to keep the lights on and to pay their staff and make money.
Mm-hmm.
So, when they're going to have a original rock band play and they draw 50 people, the club owner's pissed because he's got to pay the band X amount of dollars. He's got to pay the people that worked there that night X amount of dollars, and he lost money. People don't get into the bar and club business to lose money. But that goes back to the fan, where what is the rock fan doing to support new rock music? And the majority of them are doing nothing. The cover band success is connected to the lack of infrastructure in rock music. And what I mean by that is it's the lack of infrastructure to spotlight and get people to notice new rock music, either by new bands or by existing bands that are putting out new music. What can you tell us about your evolution into the cover band scene? Because you were playing original rock, you moved up here from Florida, you were in the band that I lived with, and then they broke up. It was a couple years, where you weren't really doing much of anything. So how did that evolve for you?
Well, I went out and saw a cover band that my buddy was playing up the road. There's a venue not far from home. It was nice and accessible. So I went and saw those guys, and his brother is a bass player, and they went on break, and the bass player wasn't in the band. He was just out in the crowd, and I knew this guy through the other guy who actually, I think he filled in for our original band once or twice, and lived at the ranch for a little while. After you, before you, I'm not sure.
I think after.
Yeah, so he's like, he's on break, and he comes out, and I'm standing next to his brother, who's a bass player, and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm not doing anything. He's like, you guys should jam. And his brother is like, yeah, let's jam. I'm like, okay, let's try it out. So we actually threw a band together, and, I know drummer, and we know the singer who's pretty good. He might be looking to do something. And I didn't really know anybody because I was just in my circle of original band, dudes. So we kind of got that together and jammed a few times, and it was like, yeah, this is fun, So that was the start of it.
And let's also face it too, right? I mean, and this is probably a question but maybe a statement that needs to be said. When you were in the original rock band, you were fairly young, right? I mean, and you had dreams of pursuing this and seeing where it goes. And as you get older, let's face it, the idea of playing original rock and writing new music with other people becomes less and less appealing.
Yeah, for sure. And then we've all got families starting and kids and, starting careers and things like that. So it definitely changes your priorities.
Yeah, it changes your priorities. It changes your perspective. I mean, like you said, you've got stuff going on. You've got family life. You've got to support your family. But you still love playing music. You still love playing the guitar, the drums. You still love singing.
Yeah.
So you still want to have that outlet. The cover band aspect really allows you to have that outlet as a musician.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a full-time job or you're running a business and you've got 2 kids, it's very difficult to find the time to write new original music. And, when you're in your mid-30s to, 40s and you just don't have the drive that you once had as a young kid, coming up in the music scene, you kind of know what the realities are of the music scene. So you're a little tainted, you're a little, jaded on the whole experience. So that all plays into it too. There's a lot of factors as to why this scene has taken over a lot of markets across the country. It's the original rock musicians who were never able to be successful in terms of.
There's so many great musicians around this area. Like it's kind of mind-boggling on how good a lot of these people are. And I'm still meeting people, today that have been around here forever that are just like, monsters on an instrument. And so you get these guys who we were all trying to be original players who are, that were top of their game, back in the day. They're still that damn good. And now they're getting cover bands together with the, other musicians that are just as good. And you're actually, these cover bands, like there's some monsters out there. There's some monster bands that like the players are all incredible. So it's another draw on some of these things is that, you've got some really, really good talent out there.
Yes, you do. I can think of a few names myself that you and I both know that are just amazing players and amazing musicians.
They're keeping busy.
Yeah. So you started this cover band that you were in. How did the evolution of the band succeed? Like, how did the band grow and grow? Were you opening for other bigger cover bands? Were you, tell us about that.
Thing was, I never really put much stock into it. And much was like, I'm going to play, I'm going to have fun. When you're saying about how you kind of lose that aspiration of being a rock star and going on tour and all that stuff, that kind of happens. And then, you use band practice night. You can equate it to anybody else that's not a musician. You can equate it to bowling night. But there it's Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm going to band practice. It's kind of like your night out, your night away,
right?
Blowing off some steam. And then, so that's how it started. And it's like, let's get a gig. And we got a gig. And it was like, whoa, people came out and people liked all the music and people got into it. And then you walk away with money in your pocket. Like, wow, it's like a paid night out,
Well, that's the thing too. Original rock bands just don't make the money because they don't draw.
No. Yeah. Very, very few. Yeah. It's unfortunate, and that's what we went through too. I mean, I think we usually, in our original days, I think it was before the big changeover, if you will, where we actually did get paid. In some places we got paid pretty well, and then things just changed. It was kind of, you'd play a venue and it would be like they would ask the people at the door who they were coming to see if there was, more than more than 2 bands or something like that, and then they'd start marking off, oh, this band got this many people, and then you'd start getting paid on how many people showed up. That was the big switch, and I don't think anything's ever has changed since then, where you're really just getting paid by who's coming through the door versus cover band is guaranteed. And then, the bigger you get, the more people you can bring, the bigger your paychecks get, and the more places you play, and the busier you get.
I just remember working at a bar in the late 90s, just being amazed about how many people were packing the place for cover bands. Like me always being an original rock music fan, and living with, the band that you were in, I always had that mindset, right? This is, new original music, and this is good, this isn't good, whatever. And then working at a bar and having a cover band play on a Saturday night, and the place is just wall to wall people. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand how it was happening. Like, they're watching, like my whole question was, they're watching people play other people's music.
Yeah.
That's not, and it's not the music, it's a cover band, and I just didn't get it. And now as, I've been able to kind of think about it more and have more perspective as I've gotten older. It is because people want things spoon-fed to them. They don't want to have to be challenged on things, and they don't want to have to think about stuff like that. So, like I said, the girls' night out, 10 girls go to a club that haven't seen each other in, a year or two. They're going to want to go and have a good time. They're going to look at a handful of clubs. They're going to decide on which club they want. And the band that they have no idea what type of music is going to be played, they're not going to that club.
Right.
So now that you've been in the cover band scene for close to 2 decades,
couple years.
A couple years.
Stop dating me.
How have you? What has been the biggest surprise for you being in? Let's just say, being in this industry as long as you have, and doing what you're doing. What have you seen? What have been the biggest changes and the biggest surprises for you?
The biggest surprise for me is the amount of money in other people's music. I mean, I'm a part of there's companies, and I have, I'm called upon, like last night's gig. I'm a steady member of the band, but they'll put out, 3, it could be the same band with the same name playing 3 different places at one night. So they're basically franchised, and, one band could be playing a wedding, one could be playing a festival, one could be playing a bar, all at the same night, same name, different people, same costumes, same set list, same tracks, so it's a product, it's not necessarily we're going out to see this amazing guitar player in this Van Halen band, or we're not going out to see this amazing singer in, I don't know, this Dio band. It's like you're just going out to see a product and an experience. And, there's a few companies that are out there doing it. I know there's one based out of Vegas, and they have bands in almost every major city. And they have a couple different incarnations of them, like genres. There'll be an 80s band, the other will be maybe a 90s band, another will be maybe just a common everyday standards band, if you will. So that's the big surprise. You can literally run these things like businesses and make shit tons of money. I mean, I'm talking, tens of thousands for, New Year's gigs type things, So yeah, that's a big surprise to me. But these guys have been doing it for a long time, 10 plus years, easily, the minimum 10 years. And, some of these other guys I know, 15, probably going on 20. And that's the thing. When I was getting out of the original band thing, the cover band stuff was starting to blossom. And, one of these a few of the top of the heat bands in Chicago area were just starting back then. So that's almost 20 years ago. So we've been at it a long time and working super hard at it, being, really consistent and really going for it. So that was a big surprise for me. And that, I think, is also a big change I've seen since my original band days, is the amount of cover bands that people just saw you can make money at it. People come to your shows and, people like it. People like it. And it fills the seats. The club owners want that. So it kind of pushed the original guys to the side, and not many places left where you can get away with playing original music, handful of places in the city, unfortunately.
And what that does basically too is it takes the young artist, the young guitar player trying to form a band, forces them to have more of a social media presence, because everyone always says, if you're a new band, you got to get out and play. You got to get out and play. Well, if there's no place to play,
yeah,
how are they going to play? And if they're only getting paid, I'm just throwing out a general number, if they're only getting paid $150 to play, are they more wise to spend that time practicing and producing new music and trying to get a social media presence, or is it better playing locally for a small amount of money? And
I think it's the combination of all of that. And if you're just starting out and you want to make something of yourself, I think money's got to be kind of secondary at first until you get established. If you're going if you're doing the original thing, you're not necessarily. I mean, unless you're trying to live off it, then yeah. But if you're trying to live off it, you better play some cover.
Well, and also
or
too,
be really, really good.
Right. And also
something
too,
special, something different.
The scene is now not local for original rock bands, and I was talking to Chris Lane from the band Station, who's from New York, and he brought up a great point about how the scene now is planet Earth. You can, for a new rock band, a new artist, you can connect with people all over the world. When I interviewed Carl Spackler from La Chinga, he was talking about how, when he's sending out CDs of the band, the addresses are from Spain and from, other countries. That's something that would have never happened years ago with an original rock scene.
Yeah.
Rock,
man. When we were finishing, kind of towards the end of our original career, our CDs were going to like South America and stuff, Brazil. It was almost like there was a demand there for what we were doing.
That was with Paris Records, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, that's something, because back in the day, years ago, scenes were very localized. They unless a local band got put on a big tour or got a record deal, they were very localized. So a band that could be huge in Florida, or a band that was huge in Chicago, or a band that was huge in Boston, unless they got any traction nationally, you would never hear of them. Whereas it's different now that, if you have a band that's predominantly successful on the East Coast, or is a band out in San Diego or whatever, you have the ability to connect with that band and hear their music, which I think is really great.
Yeah.
I just, I just don't think if there's enough rock fans at this point that understand that, a lot of music fans, I call them music consumers. A lot of music consumers only react to things that are popular, so if a song is not played on their radio station on the way to work, or, is not played at the gym while they're working out, they will not even listen to it because they think it's not good, because it's not familiar to them, or it's not played in their web, of where they go and what they do. It's sad that they think that way, you could play a band that is extremely popular, and it maybe is not very good, and everyone's like, oh, they're awesome. Oh, they're great. But you could play a band like Rival Sons or Dirty Honey or Joyous Wolf that is completely phenomenal, and because they don't recognize it, they automatically dismiss it.
And I think what when you're going back, you can really connect with these bands a lot easier now. I also think if you're that original band, you're the band, I think you have to be really tech savvy now too. I mean, I know so many great, talented, gifted musicians that don't know how to do anything. They can be amazing in their bedroom, but if they don't know how to work it, then they're still not going to get anywhere. And I'll give Tyler Bryant major kudos because I follow them on Instagram, and he's got 3 posts a day, so they're super active on promoting themselves, and they're great, and they have an amazing live show. So these guys are going to be huge, man.
I mean, and that's the frustrating part for you and I, right? Because you and I go to a lot of concerts, and usually when I'm posting about a show, 90% of the time you and I are at this, have gone to the same show. And how many times have we said to each other, for instance, when we went and saw Temperance Movement in Tyler Bryant, and the place was probably about half full. Both bands are absolutely amazing and just absolutely kick ass. And we're just like, man, why? I mean, and how much were the tickets? What, $18, $16 to go see it? Yeah. I mean, pretty much next to nothing, right?
Yep.
People would rather go see a cover band and pay a $10 cover, okay, and hear songs played by people that didn't write those songs, or go and pay hundreds of dollars, sit in the nosebleed seats to see a band that you're watching screens. You can barely see them. You can't even see their eyes.
Yeah, you're watching the screen.
Right.
You're watching the Jumbotron.
and then people complain that it's cost so much money to go see good music and a concert. No, it doesn't. You're just looking in the wrong places. I mean, I went and saw Big Wreck at the Bottom Lounge about a month ago. And they're a band from Canada, amazing, amazing band. You were supposed to go to that show with me, but you blew me off, whatever. But I went by myself. I heard, I was blown away. And there was probably 150 people at the show, 150 people.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's disappointing that these bands that are putting out so much good music, there's a wall with the rock fan. There's a wall that,
I'm just glad they still are willing to do it. They're making enough to still go out on the road and, make music and play music for people like us. I mean, they don't have to. I'm glad they are.
For me as a music fan, and I'm sure most of the people that are listening share the same frustrations, is, when you walk into, I remember the band that you were in that played at a Tilted Kilt probably 8-9 years ago. And I remember walking in not knowing what to expect because I had never seen you with this band before, this cover band. And just walking in, and the place was just packed. And I was just I was laughing because I'm I can't believe, if I went to a show of a new emerging band, there wouldn't even be half of amount of people in this.
Yeah. And we were good, but we weren't that good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's way better bands, way better bands out there.
But, I think it all correlates. I think the lack of infrastructure with rock music, I think the fact that you have to work to find good new rock music, and the emergence of the cover band scene. Well, it's not the emergence anymore. It's the scene that's here to stay, basically. It's not going away. I think that all connects with each other. I think and the one common denominator is how the fan reacts and absorbs to music. Most fans are not willing to put the work in.
Nope.
That's just a fact. I think out of all the things I mentioned, the infrastructure, the cover band scene, and the willingness to work for, to hear new rock music, I think the thing that will allow it to change is to have an infrastructure. When I talk about radio stations, and I always mention country, and how country has an infrastructure in place to promote new music, to have older musicians cross over into what a new band or a new artist is doing. You know, they've got the country music channel on cable that has performances and spotlights new artists. Every country station,
like what MTV used to do.
Exactly, exactly. You know, you have country radio stations that are always playing new country artists, and and people will say, "Oh, it's not country music anymore; it's country pop." Regardless, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, you're arguing you're getting caught in things that don't matter. It's still considered country to the country music fan, and they are still supporting it through those avenues, those outlets that allow them to hear new music. That's why a lot of new country artists develop and become successful, because they've got a formula. There's nothing like that in rock music. So what happens?
No.
Yeah. So what happens? You have people going to see cover bands on Friday and Saturday night instead of new emerging rock acts. You have people listening to classic rock that, when I do these polls on my Twitter page, right? The popular songs always win. Very, very rarely does a deep cut win a poll. And that is a prime example of the classic rock fan that only hears the popular songs, that doesn't hear any of the deep cuts. It used to be radio DJs could play the deep cuts, or play whatever they wanted, and you'd have songs that were popular. But, and now, if you put up Highway to Hell to Down Payment Blues, right, by AC/DC, Down Payment Blues is a incredible song. Highway to Hell is going to win. Highway to Hell is an incredible song. Let's not kid ourselves. But it'll be like 90% to 10%, because people don't even know what Down Payment. They claim to be AC/DC fans, but they couldn't tell you what Down Payment Blues is about, who sings it, and what album it's on. I guess, where do you see things going? Is it going to be status quo? Do you think that the cover band scene will start to slow down? Because it seems like it's growing more and more each year.
I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think so. Yeah, I think it's you can just press play on the laptop, and people don't know. People know it's like a karaoke show. People have no clue, and so that means you can play any song you want to. Whereas back in the day, you used to have to learn stuff and play it, and you'd need super harmonies and vocals, and you don't need that anymore because of technology. So it's just, I think it's becoming more appealing because of the versatility of what you can do as a band with technology.
Talk more about that, because I think that's really important. Like you're talking about tracks, right? And explain that to people who may not understand that.
So basically, I think, I'm not sure, I'm just talking about my theory here. I think it started when you don't have a keyboard player, but you're in a cover band and you want to play, Jump from Van Halen. Well, we don't have a keyboard player. What are we going to do? So you take just the track of the keyboard and you play that along with the band. So you got the keys and Jump, and when it first started out, people would be like, wait a minute, there's no keyboard player, and people would call you out. Now today, people are pretty much playing the whole song, maybe minus the drums, obviously, because you're going to have a drummer in your band. And that might be it, and the vocals, so it could be the drummers playing and the singer singing, but everybody else could be on that particularly quote unquote recording track, and nobody seems to know or care, which is I think that's what's selling a lot of these franchise bands, is that they can do anything and get away with it, and really people don't notice. People don't notice at all.
How does that work, right? Like, so let's say the guitar track, the bass track, keyboard track are all being played, and the drummer and the singer are are actually performing their instrument and actually singing. Now you're playing. Now a musician's up there playing. He's got the guitar in his hand. Now, what we're hearing, is that him or is that the track?
It really depends on, you know, if the guy knows the tune, he can play right along with it and hopefully be a little louder in the mix than the track. And if he doesn't know it, he could pull back and no one would know the difference, you know?
And let's be fair, too, because this happens in original rock bands, too, as well. A lot of original rock bands have tracks for the backing vocals.
Oh, sure.
You know, yeah.
Sure,
So,
it's just a common piece of live music now.
Right. So this is not just a cover band thing,
no,
right? You know,
not at all.
Right.
Not at all.
Yeah. But basically, you have people playing other people's music that may not even know the music, and they're just playing.
Yeah, right.
There's so much irony in that whole thing.
Yeah, right.
But
you know, like I said, these people are running these bands as businesses, and they've got to put out the product, so they're ensuring that the product is always going to be good. You know,
that's another question I have too, because as you mentioned before, there are businesses across the country that have bands in every market that you know different people play or whatever. But there's even local stuff too, where a quote unquote company or a quote unquote franchise can have 3 bands with the same name able to play 3 different events on a Saturday night. So
for sure.
Yeah, for example, one band, you know, let's call them the ABC band, can play a wedding. Another ABC band could be playing a festival, and another ABC band could be playing a club.
Exactly. And same name, different people, you know, and it's legit. It's legit.
That's incredible.
They're wearing the same, you know, depending on, they're wearing the same outfits, the same costumes, playing the same set list, using the same tracks, you know. So I gotta hand it to them, man. They're doing it very well. They're successful at it.
Can you imagine like 2 friends talking on the phone on a Sunday afternoon, going, "Oh, I saw ABC band last night. Oh, where were you? I saw them too." Well, I saw them at, you know, this club. I'm like, they didn't play at a club last night. They were playing at this festival. And a friendship is ruined because of the argument that ensues, because one, they're both right and they don't realize it. And then they're not friends anymore.
Yeah,
they block each other on Facebook and they don't see each other for 10 years. How many times has that happened, Chris, where that franchise has ruined relationships? Or how about divorces, right? You know, like, "Oh, hey, where did you go with the guys last night?" "Oh, I went and saw ABC band." "Well, I went and saw ABC band. I didn't see you. Who were you with? What's her name? What are you doing?" Blah blah blah. That's a big possibility. That could be the final nail in a coffin for a marriage.
No, I think anybody involved in the situation is aware of how the system works.
For a casual fan, let's say
a casual fan, maybe not.
Let's say Mary Smith is going out with her girlfriends on a Saturday night, and because she's going out with her girlfriends, John Smith, the husband, decides to go out with his buddies, and they go to a festival, and ABC bands play at the festival, and you know, ABC band's playing at the club at the girls' night out. That could ruin a marriage right there. Because imagine trying to explain that. I'm just saying these hypotheticals.
Yeah, if you don't know better, it could be weird.
Well, it's also too like the talent booking agent for a village, let's say, who's got a rib fest or has a taste of this town or that town, and they've got to book entertainment for the evening or for the day. You know, are they going to take a chance on a original rock act who has a song that, you know, could be deemed offensive by people, or something, you know, they have this live act where they do something on stage that people are going to complain about, Or are they going to play it safe and book a band that plays, familiar songs where they just get up there basically like a wedding band? They're gonna take the safe road because they don't want any controversy in their town. They don't want to lose their job for hiring a band that does whatever on stage on a family event like a festival, and then have to answer for that come Monday morning.
Yeah, for sure. It's just like you were talking earlier about if somebody's going to go out for the weekend, they're going to go with the safe bet.
Right.
They want to make sure they want to take the mystery out of it. They don't want to take a chance. They want to go with the sure thing.
The other thing that is becoming more and more popular with bands is the 30-minute medley, which just makes my skin crawl. There's one major act that I know of, and then there's another lesser-known act here in the Chicagoland area that do these 30-minute medleys of like 50, 60 songs. You see the crowd react to snippets of these songs. It's a perfect medley for people with attention deficit disorder. I just sit back and I watch this, and I can't believe people find that acceptable. People find that... Now, granted, arranging a medley like that does take a lot of work. Okay.
Yeah, it isn't easy.
It's not easy. So I will give them credit, and I will say that. But
yeah,
I don't know. Like hearing a medley of songs over 30 minutes where I hear snippets of basically songs that are in a jukebox. Yeah. I find that.
Yeah, it's the short attention span theater,
Yeah.
But, I mean, you got to hand it to them. People are eating it up.
People do eat it up. I've seen it twice now. I saw it at a St. Patty's Day festival a couple of years ago, where I was just nauseous watching and listening to it. And then I saw it at the Oktoberfest that I mentioned last year, where this cover band drew over 2,000 people, and they're playing to a track up there. I'm not going to mention any names, but they're playing to a track, and then they do this 30-minute medley, and the video screen is lined up with the medley, so they're playing to a track, because you cannot. I mean, it's almost impossible to do a 30-minute medley with 60 songs and have everything stay lined up with a video screen behind them of the videos that each song has. It just, I mean, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the bands I was in, we used to do that. We didn't use tracks, but we did use a click track where the drummer just had the tempo in his ear, and that kept him on track with the video, which in turn kept the band on track with the video. So there's that. You can use a click track, but I know what you're talking about, and I know that there was more than just a click track going on.
Yeah. And then you see like your...
But, I mean, that's fair game now. It's like the norm, and bands now are promoting themselves, with a tagline, all live, no tracks. So,
yeah. Yep. I mean, and then you see the social media post, right? Oh my God, this band was amazing. They do a 30-minute medley of like 60 songs. And as a rock fan, I look at the post and I'm just like, you could go see a band for $15 play incredible new music, but you'd rather hear 30-second snippets of songs for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I just do like the face palm. And I know I'm different than most of society in that I love
instant gratification.
Right. Right. And I understand that. Like not everyone's like me or like you where, we'll turn to each other and during a original rock performance, Tyler Bryan, Temperance Movement, Richie Kotzen, whoever, and just look at each other and just shake our heads like, what the hell did we just see? Most people who like the 30-minute medleys, are not going to have that reaction, are not going to understand when they see, Richie Kotzen up and down the fretboard of his guitar and then be able to sing like he sings. Most people are not going to appreciate that because they don't understand.
Yeah.
They're music consumers, not music fans.
Right. I don't know this one,
Yeah.
I don't know this one. Get on to the ones I know. I just want to hear all the hits.
Yeah, and then they finally hear the song they hear, and then they do like the, oh my God, it's like,
Yeah.
I'm like, the 10 songs that they played previously are way better than this one, but and that goes back to my thought with people absorbing music. If they don't hear it in their daily life, if they don't hear it on the radio, they don't hear it at the gym,
they don't want to hear it.
They don't want to hear it, and it's not good. They don't understand that just because it's not played wherever they go in their life, at a Starbucks or, now at a Target, they play music. Every place plays music now when I walk into every store. I feel like I'm like, I don't know. It's like there's like a track being played while I'm shopping. It's I don't know.
Yeah.
It's different. But like wherever you go,
it's true.
Wherever you go, like there's music playing. So like if you're at the gym and they got the music playing, if you're at work and they've got music playing, the radio playing, if you're driving to and from work, music's playing, and you don't hear, Dirty Honey, or you don't hear Tyler Bryant, you're not going to, for whatever reason, the majority of people will be like, well, I don't hear their music when, this and that. So how could it be good? And you're just like, it's like so deflating when someone says that, because they would rather listen to the Britney Spears song or the Adam Levine song rather than something that really kicks ass and really has got some movement to it and some
What's
depth.
Funny is hearing Guns N' Roses on like the music in the supermarket now.
Right?
Paradise City will be on, or November Rain or something. It's like, what?
Well,
this was the stuff.
Yeah.
That was it was the fringe, back in the day.
That was the whole thing with Ozzy, right? I mean, Ozzy was the devil back in the day. Every parent across America would confiscate Ozzy records because of the Satanism and the outrageous behavior. And now he's a pop culture icon, right? He's getting invited to the White House.
Malone guy, Post Malone's going to make him huge.
Unbelievable, right? I can't believe that. But it just, same thing with Guns N' Roses. I remember them being banned from the American Music Awards because the language that Slash used while accepting an award because he was half in the bag, And I mean, even Motley Crue, even being accepted now in mainstream, which I'm still surprised that movie was ever released because of the whole Me Too movement and all that stuff. But yeah, you're right. Did you
see that meme? It was musicians today, and it was a dude in a coffee shop with a laptop and like a 7-string guitar or some kind of really weird guitar. And then it said musicians today, and it showed that dude, and it said musicians in the 80s, and it had Slash like passed out on the ground with a bottle of vodka and cigarettes and stuff like that all around him.
I'm going to be doing a show here on the rock star and how that does not exist anymore. It doesn't seem there's no larger than life figure out there. I shouldn't say out there. They might be out there. They maybe just haven't developed into that yet. So I think it's it's a fair thing to allow them to develop into that. But when you think of the popularity of rock music, there are so many individuals that were parts of bands that allowed rock music or pushed rock music forward. You think of the larger than life Freddie Mercury's and the Daily Roths and the Axl Rose and, all the bands and everything. Like there was like this darkness, there was this edge, dangerous element to the music. When I interviewed Chris, my son, last week, it seems to me the younger generation views the hip hop artists, the rap artists, as the new outlaws, as the new danger, because your parents don't want you to listen to that. And I think that is a huge thing that's missing with rock music, is that dangerous individual, or not, I shouldn't say dangerous, but viewed as being dangerous, like the Ozzy Osbourne that we just mentioned. And I think when parents are not telling their kids to not listen to rock music anymore. I remember when my mother and father took away records from me, I wanted to listen to it more. I wanted to go after it. And again, I think it comes together when we talk about the cover band scene. The lack of danger in rock music, the lack of infrastructure, the lack of, of that, or having to work to listen to music. the cover band scene is a result of all those things, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
I mean, so you can't blame musicians that are playing cover band music, okay? You can't blame the club owners that want to make money. If you want to blame anybody, blame the people that that consistently go see cover bands versus original music. And it's not like an anger thing, but it's a supply and demand. These bands would not exist, the scene would not exist if there was not a demand for it. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
So in closing, what do you where do you see yourself, in the next few years? Do you continue down the road of playing in cover bands, and what do you envision the scene being? Status quo, the same, growing, staying? How do you see it?
Interesting question. I noticed a lot of kind of, I don't know how to say it, but subpar musicians just getting in cover bands because it's almost like we started out in original bands and we had to be,
you had to know your instrument.
Yeah, we had to be, pretty damn good to do original stuff because there was always somebody else in another band that was going to be better than you. So you really had to work hard. When you're just playing the same set list as everybody else, anybody who goes on YouTube and learns how to play guitar after like a year or two, I see a lot of that happening. And I think that's kind of watering down the talent. Hopefully that doesn't affect the demand. I don't really see it affecting the demand, unfortunately, but that's something I'm seeing. I don't think it's going to slow down. It's probably going to get worse. And as far as myself goes, I'm just going to ride the wave until nobody wants me anymore. That's the thing. Like people are still calling me. People are still paying me. Yeah, I'll keep doing it. I definitely want to get into a little more writing and recording. I've been doing some recording with, some different people. Matt Burke, did some recording with him, and some other projects where I'm just coming in and laying down guitar work. And I want to do more of that because, nobody's going to want to see me up on stage for much longer. But then again, I see some dudes up there that are, twice my age and they're still doing it. So it's like, maybe I can,
Well, let's end there. I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate you doing this. Thank you very much. Like I said,
my pleasure.
You and I have a 20+ year history, and we enjoy a lot of the same type of music. We go to a lot of the same shows, and I've been wanting to have you on for a while, so I appreciate it. And this is a great topic too. And let me just say, this is not to disparage or to say negative things about the artists and the musicians that are playing in cover bands, because like Chris just said, there's a lot of great musicians that are playing in those bands. It all comes down, right?
Absolutely.
It all comes down to supply and demand. And if you're going to be mad about a cover band scene absorbing the new original rock scene and not having a place for that, you need to look at the people that are going to the clubs using that as a source of entertainment on Friday and Saturday night. Don't be mad at the musicians. Yeah. Don't be mad at the bands. Be mad at your fellow rock fans for creating this. I mean, the guys that are playing in the cover bands are playing music because, like we've talked about, a lot of them have families. A lot of them have responsibilities. They have their own businesses. They've got full-time jobs. They can't afford to spend time writing music and doing things and trying to find people to play with original music because, they've gotten older and their aspirations have changed. I mean, they're just out there playing for the love of music. So don't say, that's a bad thing. It's just reality, folks.
And there are there's some great cover bands out there. I mean, really, really top notch. Just not to sidestep on your closing statements, but I know one band that now they only do corporate and wedding events, and they play theaters. I mean, and they're a cover band, but they are amazing. So there's that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of supply and demand, and there's a lot of people not wanting to offend anyone. So, like I said, that talent booking agent for the theater or for the festival or for the corporate event, they're not going to take a chance on, some band saying something controversial on stage or doing something that could be, deemed offensive when, there's children in the crowd and causing this uproar with the village or the company. They just don't. So they're going to hire the safe bet. They're going to hire the band that plays 80s standards or 80s rock, or they're going to hire the band that plays whatever band, and that's really, that's the truth. That's the reality. But again, it's all based on the current infrastructure of rock music and not having an outlet for new rock music. And that's why these bands are successful, and that's why they'll continue to be successful, because, people don't want to work to listen to new rock music. And quite frankly, I don't know why they should have to. There should be something in place for rock music right now to garner attention for new rock music.
Well, you are starting it, my friend.
I'm not starting anything. I'm not rewriting the wheel. I'm just trying to get bands exposure.
But you're exposing people to these new artists that they're not getting much other attention elsewhere or push,
Yeah,
and that's really cool. There needs to be more of that.
I agree. I appreciate the kind words, but yeah, I agree. There needs to be more, and there needs to be more, openness to listening to it. Nothing frustrates me more when a poll I run gets, 10,000 impressions on Twitter and 1,000 votes, and, the new music I post gets, 2,000 impressions and, 100 views.
All right. I'm trying to plug you.
Well, anyway, man, thanks again for doing this. And hope to have you on again soon. I know we've got some ideas for a few things, but I hope they come to fruition. But once again, Chris, thank you very much.
No, you're welcome, man. My pleasure always.
Once again, everybody, this is Jay Scott from the Hook Rocks, the Ultimate Rock Community Podcast. We will talk again soon. Thank you.